hashtag relationship goals. Because obviously your life won't be complete until you become the next Selena Gomez and Benny Blanco.
Fun but cathartic because we got to know each other on a deeper level.
Getting engaged to someone is the craziest thing in the world. It's like right before you're gonna tell someone you're gonna be married to them forever, they're like, show me how good you can lie to me.
That magical moment when your stomach fills with butterflies, gravity stops working, and suddenly you are falling in love like an astronaut on a rom-com mission to the moon and back. Cute. But hey, before you get too cozy floating in space, maybe double check your parachute. Because that crush? Yeah, it could be your crash landing. Let's be honest, if you've ever binged soap operas, sobbed over love songs, or devoured romance novels like their relationship blueprints, then chances are you've already bought into the great romantic myth. But don't worry, you're not alone. Society sold us all the same glittery illusion. Everywhere you look, it's how to find your soulmate in 5 easy steps or why your twin flame ghosted you on a Tuesday. Love is marketed like a skincare product, and we are all just hoping for that glow. The problem? We've been trained to chase feelings, not reality.
It's just an infatuation. It's nothing.
We think true love means heart flutters, cinematic slow-mo, and fireworks, ideally on a beach at sunset. But is that all it takes? Well, buckle up. Or don't. Because today we are not just falling in love, we are free-falling into the awkward, messy, yet beautiful, unfiltered abyss of romance, no parachute required. So where did this thing called love even come from? Was it created by Hollywood producers during a group hug? Or maybe some ancient poets just overdosed on emotions? Nope. Turns out, love predates rom-coms, sonnets, and even humans. And believe it or not, biological anthropology has been poking around the fossil record and animal behavior to figure out when love first crawled out of the emotional swamp. Let's rewind way back, like 200 million years back. At the dawn of mammalian evolution, our fuzzy ancestors weren't exactly swiping right on Tinder. But they did develop something revolutionary called maternal care. According to biological anthropologists like Sarah Blaffer-Hrdy, this was the first evolutionary spark of what we now call love.
It just seemed natural to assume that among the bipedal apes in the line leading to the genus Homo, babies could similarly expect single-mindedly dedicated maternal care.
Not the romantic kind with candlelit dinners, just basic I won't let you die vibes from mom. This was a huge upgrade from the reptile parenting style, lay eggs, peace out. Mammals stuck around. They cuddled, licked, fed, and even protected their little ones. Cute, right? Turns out, that bond between mother and infant was love's prototype, nature's beta test for emotional attachment. Fast forward to our cousins, the chimpanzees, who by the way are 98.7% genetically identical to us and 100% drama. Chimps don't do romance, but they do form deep same-sex friendships. Grooming, sharing food, emotional support, all without sending good morning texts. So yeah, love, or at least a strong social bond, doesn't need a red rose and a wedding hashtag to be real. But here's where things get juicy. Around 6 to 7 million years ago, after we awkwardly broke up with chimpanzees on the evolutionary timeline, something new started to brew. Romantic love? Or as evolutionary scientists put it, pair bonding with emotional intensity and selective mate preference. Which is a very sterile way of saying I want you and only you for now.
I want you.
I want you too.
But how exactly did this happen? Cue the academic catfight. Some say romantic love evolved by co-opting the mother-infant bond. Basically, we rebranded mommy's comfort into babe I can't sleep without you. Others argue it came from same-sex friendships. Love was born from deep companionship, not just reproductive efficiency. And then there's the courtship hypothesis, which proposes that love evolved to trick people into sticking around long enough to mate, make babies, and stop them from immediately ghosting afterward. Whichever way it started, love turned out to be an evolutionary jackpot. It boosted offspring survival, created social stability, and came with surprising physiological perks, like lower cortisol, better heart health, and fewer chances of flipping out in a cave because your mate actually came back from the hunt. And it's not even a human-exclusive experience. Cross-species evidence shows that animals, from voles to birds, form long-term bonds, cuddle, and even grieve. So yeah, love is a bit of a biological superpower, not just a Taylor Swift lyric. So before we dive into Plato and Freud trying to define your breakup through existential metaphors, just remember, love didn't start in a poetry book. It started with a mammal saying, "Hey, I care if you die."
I care if you die.
Ready to go from instincts to ideas? Let's get philosophical. Alright, we've survived the evolutionary jungle. Now it's time to stroll into something even more chaotic, philosophy. Because if love didn't already make you question your sanity, wait until a bunch of toga-wearing thinkers and sandal-clad sages start weighing in. Let's start with the ancient Greeks, who basically invented the love version of a personality quiz. They broke it down into neat little categories. Because why just be confused about love when you can label it? Eros, romantic, passionate, take me now kind of love.
Take me. Now.
Philia, deep friendship, the ride or die bond. Storage, family love, aka you're annoying but I'd still fight for you. Agape, selfless, unconditional love that sounds beautiful but feels suspiciously unrealistic. And Plato? Oh, he had thoughts. He wasn't sold on messy, physical love. To him, the highest form of love wasn't dating. It was contemplating the abstract idea of beauty. Basically, stop kissing, start thinking.
Stop. Just stop it. Stop it now.
Aristotle, though, was more grounded. He cared less about floating in divine ideals and more about virtue. Real love, he argued, means helping each other become better humans. You know, the classic character development arc kind of love. Meanwhile, in the East, love was less about passion and more about presence. Confucianism gave us Ren, humanness, loving others through responsibility, respect, and not ghosting them after dinner. Buddhism brought metta, loving-kindness, and karuna, compassion. Here, love wasn't attachment, it was freedom from ego, a cosmic hug without expectations. Hinduism introduced bhakti, devotional love, often for a deity, with a touch of musical theater and emotional surrender. Then came the medievals, who thought, let's make love poetic and impossible. Thus was born courtly love, a ritual of longing for someone you couldn't have, like every tragic Tumblr crush. Aquinas tried to make peace between divine love and natural love. His synthesis? Love comes from the will, guided by reason. In other words, feel your feelings, but don't be dumb. Enter the moderns, aka the intellectuals who made love feel like existential therapy. Schopenhauer said love is just biology tricking us into reproduction, romance as a cruel genetic con, mood. Kierkegaard was more emo. Love to him was a divine task, something sacred and terrifying, like marriage. Erich Fromm treated love as a skill, not a feeling. A decision, not a fate. Practice it or perish. Jean-Paul Sartre, existential king, reminded us love often becomes a game of control. Wanting to be loved without becoming a prisoner of the other person's gaze? Fun. Now? We can't even agree if love should be unconditional or conditional. And we are just starting to realize that self-love isn't selfish, it's actually required. Cross-culturally, love takes even more fascinating turns. In Japan, there's ame, the sweet indulgence of being emotionally dependent, like a child with a doting parent. In Arabic, ishq is wild, passionate love, sometimes too consuming for comfort. The Yoruba of West Africa give us efe, a deeply spiritual, mutual love that emphasizes harmony, not ownership. Love demands freedom, but thrives on surrender. We crave exclusivity, yet believe in universal compassion. It makes us irrational, but ask us to explain it with reason. No wonder we are all confused. And so, before we continue our deep dive into romantic love, a moment of wisdom from Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh, who gently but firmly reminds us, to love without knowing how to love wounds the person we love. Deep breath. Let's talk about that thing we've all been conditioned to chase, yet rarely understand, romantic love. Now that we've philosophized ourselves into a knot, let's do what modern people do when confused: consult science. Yes, folks, welcome to the cold, hard lab of romantic love, where brain chemistry meets delusion and hormones pretend they are poets. Romantic love, according to psychology and neuroscience, is not just butterflies, it's a biochemical cocktail that would probably be illegal if bottled. Dopamine floods your system, making your crush look like a Nobel Prize-winning model, even if they chew with their mouth open. Norepinephrine boosts your focus so much you could write a thesis on their last text. Oxytocin, the cuddle hormone, and vasopressin kick in to seal the bond like emotional superglue, helpful if you're mating for life, terrifying if you're not.
I ain't leaving.
All of this brain noise mimics addiction. Love, basically, is your brain snorting your partner's presence and asking for more. Romantic love is psychologically tied to attachment theory, with influences from your childhood, caregivers, and possibly your pet hamster. Secure types are like rom-com protagonists, emotionally available and well-adjusted. Unicorns, essentially. Avoidant types love from a distance, emotionally, physically, existentially. Anxious types think love is just another word for please don't abandon me. Disorganized types combine both, basically the emotional version of a glitch in the matrix. So, no, you are not bad at love, you are just playing out your psychological programming like a loyal iOS update. Let's bring in the Human Nature Journal, because nothing spices up romance like peer-reviewed irony. A recent cross-cultural study examined how people across 45 countries value romantic love. And guess what? People from less developed countries with fewer resources, lower life expectancy, and often more societal restrictions valued romantic love more. Meanwhile, people from wealthier nations with iPhones, almond milk, and self-help podcasts also valued romantic love more. So basically, romantic love is somehow both a luxury and a survival strategy. Pick your irony. Researchers were baffled. Why would those with fewer resources romanticize romantic love? Isn't it impractical when you are trying to put food on the table? Answer: because romantic love offers hope, status, and emotional sanctuary in tough conditions. And in wealthier cultures, it's become the cherry on top of personal freedom, self-expression, and dating apps with dog filters. Love, it seems, is universal, just with wildly different job descriptions. And here's the twist: women across cultures valued romantic love more than men, in direct contradiction to what famed anthropologist Dr. Helen Fisher predicted. Fisher, who spent decades studying the neurobiology of love, suggested men tend to fall faster and idealize romance more. But the data says otherwise.
If I had to say who was the more romantic sex, I would say men rather than women. We've got a lot of data on that. Try telling that to a women's magazine, it's hopeless. I've been trying for 40 years.
Women, statistically, are the bigger love junkies. So, who's right? Maybe both? Maybe neither? Or maybe humans are just deeply inconsistent beings trying to script universal truths out of messy feelings? And so we arrive at the glorious mess of romantic love, part hormone, part hope, part psychological rerun, and entirely mysterious. Now that science has poked holes in the ideal, what do we do with this strange thing called love? Cue our final dive into the modern context, cultural aspects, and practical reality of how to love better without crashing.
Don't crash, don't crash.
Shall we? Welcome to Modern Love, where Shakespearean tragedy meets influencer thirst traps. Romantic love today is a dizzying mix of dreams, dopamine, and disaster, and if you feel confused, that's not a bug, it's the whole system. Let's start with the hyper-real love paradox coined by philosopher Jean Baudrillard and unofficially co-signed by every couple on Instagram. You know the type: perfectly filtered beach dates, handwritten love notes in the caption. The relationship is less about intimacy and more about performance. We've somehow confused real love with a brand aesthetic. Swipe right, match, instant validation. Break up, just untag,
Girls, I'm serious. Untag it. Tear down the wall.
unfollow, and post a glow-up reel. Add in a consumerist mindset, where people shop for partners like they are comparing iPhones, and suddenly love feels like a limited-time offer with no refund policy. And here, to kicker, we've gone from Romeo dying for Juliet
Romeo? Romeo?
to they left me on red, so I blocked them and bought crystals. Yet, despite the chaos, studies suggest enduring passion is still possible. It just takes more than good lighting and shared Spotify playlists. It takes active cultivation, not just vibes. Which leads us to
Well, because certain cultural context clues.
romantic love is not one size fits all. Your culture, background, and family group chat all come into play. In individualistic cultures like the West, love is about choice, self-expression, and soulmate hunting. In collectivist cultures, it's often shaped by family expectations, communal harmony, and, let's be honest, the antis. Religion adds more complexity, especially around heteronormativity and purity narratives. Socioeconomic status? Big factor. Remember that Human Nature Journal paradox? People in both low and high development societies valued romantic love the most, just for totally different reasons. And gender dynamics? Still a battlefield. Romantic love gets policed, packaged, and politicized depending on whether you are expected to chase, wait, provide, nurture, or post subtle thirst traps. Let's talk about AI romance. No, seriously. Films like Her, starring a man who falls in love with his OS, aren't just art. They are a preview.
Please wait as your operating system is initiated.
Hello, I'm here.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Samantha.
With AI companions already out there, the question becomes, can a machine replicate the neural fireworks of human love? Short answer, sort of. Oxytocin doesn't care if it's a human voice or an algorithm saying I care about you. Your brain is loyal to the feeling, not the source, which is both fascinating and terrifying. But even in a digital world, human-to-human connection still matters. Algorithms can flirt, but only you can make love meaningful. Let's wrap with some actual tools, because love doesn't just happen. You build it, or at least learn how to stop tripping over it.
I'm tripping over myself.
1. Combat hyperreality with conscious awareness. Don't compare your situationship to a TikTok highlight reel. Real love happens in awkward silences and shared dishwashing, not slow-mo airport kisses. 2. Practice active love. Shout out to Eric Fromm. Love is a verb. It's care, responsibility, respect, and knowledge. Not a feeling, not a vibe, a practice. 3. Leverage science for relationship health. Want to make it last? Understand your attachment style. Hack oxytocin. Schedule date nights. Google isn't therapy, but it's a start. 4. Navigate cultural and personal differences. Ask, listen, adapt, repeat. Love is bilingual, sometimes bicultural, and always messy. 5. Integrate the practical and the romantic. It's okay to want candlelight and clear communication. You can be a romantic and still use Google Calendar to plan quality time.
They're fact. Wonderful fact.
Final thoughts. If you are in that place where love feels like a Rubik's Cube, and every side is just red flags, you are not alone. Whether you are burned out, confused, or just trying to understand why romance feels so complicated, there is a way forward. I've linked an ebook in the description, packed with clarity, frameworks, and tools to help you navigate love with less cringe and more consciousness. And remember what Nobel-winning ethologist Nikolaus Tinbergen taught us: love isn't just a feeling. It's a biological mechanism, a developmental journey, an evolutionary adaptation, and a cultural story. To truly master love, you have to understand all four, so take the plunge. But this time, do it with your eyes open.